I had a great time in St. Louis with you guys, Jamie. Just thinking, it was more fun being in the studio than being in. I'm stuck in my condo in D.C. because it's snowing outside, so the government is shut down.
Oh,
The country's safe for the day.
All right.
For 24 hours, everyone is safe. The courts are shut down and the federal government, so all's good.
Right? Yeah. I like. What is it? It's the non-essential employees get to stay home, do they?
Which is basically everyone.
Everybody, yeah. No doubt about it. All right, so yeah, we have we had the election here. We had a primary here in Illinois, and it was interesting because now we have yet another Democrat. This one being a pro-life Democrat winning a congressional primary in Illinois' 3rd district. And I'm noticing there seems to be a trend, and Democrats are finally getting it, and Republicans ought to be on notice, because even in Pennsylvania, you had a more conservative Democrat, and he was seeing some success. So I'm seeing a trend here.
Well, I think you are. I mean, I think you're seeing that Democrats, at least in some places, are realizing that the majority of people in their districts are not Nancy Pelosi-believing type Democrats. That's not their philosophy of how the country should be governed. And so they're saying, okay, let's put up people that actually reflect the people who live in this district. The problem is, and look, I would welcome, Jamie, more of what used to be called blue dog Democrats. Many back in the day when you had Democrats in the kind of red states that were conservative, especially on social issues. I would welcome those Democrats back to Washington if I thought they would actually hold on to those views once they got here. The problem is the other trend that we've seen is anytime you've seen someone like that run at home, and like Bob Casey in Pennsylvania, for example, and others, they run that way on one side and say, yes, I'm for all these things, but then they get to D.C., and they vote in lockstep with the majority party because there's not enough of them to form any kind of coalition to push back on the more liberal wing of their party. So, I would love to see a few of them get elected if I thought they were going to do something once they got here and actually work with the president, work with Republicans. But I'm not optimistic that's going to happen.
Yeah, you're saying that a lot of these folks, they might talk a good game while they're running, but ultimately they're going to be they're going to fall into the party.
What are they going to do when you are part of a party that basically says no one who's pro-life can speak on any of our national stages, you never get to make the speeches, your views are not welcome, you have no influence. So you may say one thing in your district and maybe you personally believe it, but then why are you a part of a party that is for abortion at any time? For example, for these guys that are running and saying they're pro-life, you are running as a part of a party that is so extreme when it comes to the issue of abortion. I mean, it just how you line up with that, I don't think it makes sense.
Well, the case in the 3rd congressional with this Lipinski individual, that as you point out, the party was so extreme that they refused to support anything about his candidacy. I mean, they didn't fund it, the Democratic Party or anything. And in fact, they came up late in the game and decided they were going to run somebody against him from the left. I mean, they were that extreme about it.
Well, and we've seen, Nancy Pelosi and others, we've seen where they have said, we're not going to give money from the congressional committees here on the Democratic side to candidates who are pro-life or candidates who don't believe this or believe that. I mean, they're very lockstep about it. So what I don't understand is if you're running, so this person who's running there and won the primary, why are they part of the Democratic Party? I mean, if you're so out of step and if that party is so trying to get rid of you, why do you want to be a part of that? And what difference do you think you're going to make once you get to D.C.? I mean, again, when you look at the issues of life, that this candidate's pro-life, what kind of judges does this person think Democrats want to put into place? Pro-life judges or people who respect, the right to life? I don't think so. That's not the track record we've seen from Democratic presidents or Democratic senators who confirm judges. This is the part I don't understand. And I know Connor Lamb, the guy who won in Pennsylvania last week, he says he's personally pro-life. Well, personally is fine.
Right.
But if you're an elected official and you vote on these things, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, we had a situation here. I'm not quite sure whether you go that local, but we had a situation down here where we have this Governor Rauner character who is a Republican who basically misrepresented everything that he stood for when he was running as kind of this outsider, independent, Republican, conservative, everything else, and he wound up just going absolutely in the opposite direction. And my concern now is he did win the primary as a Republican, and then they have this J.B. Pritzker guy who's a Democrat there who I think is probably going to wind up beating him. And a lot of it has to do with, and this is, I'm not advocating this, but it looks like there are going to be a lot of conservatives in Illinois who will not vote for Rauner because they don't want to be turned into fools. I mean, Rauner has presided over an increase in income taxes and a tax hike, a lack of any action on the pension problem in Illinois, who actually presided over a relaxation of immigration laws, who signed into law and a pro-abortion law that said if Roe versus Wade is overturned, Illinois will still be safe haven for abortion. So, in spite of the fact that he said he was, pro-life, and when he was questioned about it, so all these things, why would a conservative vote for this guy?
It's a very good question. I mean, and here's what's amazing, Jamie. What it seems like is the people that are winning in these places are conservatives, whether you're running as a Democrat or running as a Republican. The people who are claiming the conservative mantle are the ones that tend to win. And I think that's because the country, by and large, is still center-right on most issues, including on social issues. So, again, I think that, it's always a case-by-case, race-by-race issue, and I still believe politics are very local, especially when you don't have somebody running at the top, like in a presidential election.
Right.
And so the individual candidates really matter, not just what they say, but in this case, how they have actually governed, what they've done actually, once they've gotten the people's vote, what do they actually do with it? It's why the quality of candidates at the local level really, really matter.
Well, and it seems like as much as they crab about President Trump, their deep down desire, especially among these candidates, is to be more like him, and because that's what seemingly seems to be the blueprint now for some Democrats who are running to try to take over some congressional seats. It'll be very interesting to see how that rolls out.
No, I think you're right. Of course, the difference with President Trump and the rest of it, he's actually keeping his promise.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We'll see if the rest of these folks who run that way turn out to do the same.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's interesting, too, because Michael Moore came out, and I found this kind of fascinating because he and Bernie Sanders were both kind of taking the stage and saying, we're sick of hearing about Russia. We're sick of hearing about Stormy Daniels. And I think it's scarily, they're right. They're on to something. I'm not quite sure whether people are going to pick up on it or not, but man, if that attitude takes hold, Democrats actually, or liberals, could actually make some headway.
If it takes hold,
yeah.
The liberals and the left in Washington are so invested in the Russia investigation and all this kind of stuff. They're just so invested. I don't know if they can let it go. I just don't know if they can.
Well, I hope you enjoy your, I don't know, it's just really kind of a day off. You just work from home, I guess, huh?
You can work from home. Yeah, I can do shows like this,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were going to have a big school safety teach-in at Heritage today, which would have been a great, we had kids coming in from around the country. Hopefully they'll still get to have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would encourage your listeners, if they're looking for issues, we had another shooting yesterday, this one outside of D.C. in Maryland, but you had an armed officer on campus who did exactly what we would want to see somebody do.
Right.
So there's good answers on these issues. So I would encourage you, if they go to heritage.org and check out school safety, they'll find a lot of good resources.
Yeah, you guys
Hopefully
are doing.
We'll be able to do this tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I hope so too. You guys are doing a really good job on this, and really exhaustive in terms of numbers and studies and those kinds of things. Genevieve Wood, great to see you last week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie.